This is the most beautiful racetrack in America, hands down.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the breeding stock sale. Book one. Good to have you back with us.
And welcome in, everybody. It's time for the Keeneland Look Ahead, looking towards the Thursday card, second day of the racing week, third racing week, and we are officially on the back half of the Keeneland 15-day spring meet. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now, and as we do every night, 8:30 Eastern, we look ahead to the next day's racing here on the Keeneland Look Ahead. Before we do, we recap what we saw on the Wednesday program, and I'll tell you, folks, it was a tough handicapping chore for a lot of folks throughout the course of that card on Wednesday. I myself was 0 for 7 going into the finale, a $17 winner in the last race. So took $16 to play the top picks. We ended up with a plus ROI, about $1.20 up for the day, but it was not easy swimming on the program. And a recap of how things shook out on the racetrack. If you were backing Mike Maker, you had yourself quite a day. He and Tyler Gaffalione teamed up twice. Maker won 3 in all. He won 3 of the first 5 on the program. So the early pick 5 was a heavy dose of Mike Maker. He had obviously his best week of this young meet, but halfway home, he's starting to pick up a little bit of momentum, certainly more than he had the first 2 weeks. And in race number 2, we had a $70 winner on the program, a tough one to get. When they pay $70, they are supposed to be tough to get. But it was the 8th winner this meet that was 20-1 or more. And that matches the most we've had here on dirt. You got to go back to the Polytrack era till we had a spring meet where there were 10 20-1 or more winners. That going back to, I think, 2006. But we have not seen any more than this. 8 winners at $20 or more. And when you think about it, we have, 3 days opening week? We had 4 last week. That's 7. Yesterday was day 8. 8 days of racing. 8 winners at 20-1 or more. We're averaging 1 a day. It's not going to continue that average throughout the course of the meet. 20-1 are supposed to be hard to come by, but they're coming along with some frequency during the course of the spring meet at Keeneland. We've been lucky to catch a few of them, but certainly not all 8. I would like to catch another 1 or 2 before it's all said and done. Let's set up the program that we have coming up for you on Thursday here at Keeneland. We've got a 9-race card. Feature race goes as race number 8, 1.5 miles on the turf in Allowance Company. That race has an interesting runner in Gladys. She's a 4-year-old full sister to the great Rachel Alexandra. Of course, Rachel was all dirt, won the Preakness, went to Saratoga, beat the boys, the Kentucky Oaks winner. You know the resume of Rachel Alexandra. Not a lot of turf in it, but Gladys is in the turf going 1.5 miles in the featured race, race number 8. That is part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, which returns. The Keeneland Turf Pick 3 is back today. We did not have 3 turf races on the Wednesday program. We do on Thursday, though, and the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 will be races 4, then race 6, and race 8. So races 4, 6, and 8 will make up the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Let's look at the big board and talk about what we've got on online for this coming Thursday program. The big picture, as we call it, tells you where the races and the structure of the different bets are. Pick 6 carryover to discuss, which begins in race number 4. Pick 6 carryover is going to be $41,000. Nobody hit the pick 6. The $1 pick 6 at Keeneland. It's not a jackpot wager. If you don't follow everyday racing at Keeneland, it's a traditional pick 6, but a $1 minimum bet. So one that you can chase, $41,000 in the carryover. We'll talk more about what that carryover is and means as we get around to handicapping the 4th race. But as I look at this 9-race card, we get a swing race in race number 5. Those who follow the program are getting familiar with these terms. The swing race means it's part of the early pick 5 and the late pick 5. So race number 5 on a 9-race card will wrap up the early pick 5 on races 1 through 5, and then it will kick off the late pick 5 on races 5 through 9. Now, the other wagers you want to keep an eye on, we mentioned the 4, 6, and 8 are the races in the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, denoted in green there. As far as I look at a card, I want to take this big picture look because I want to see where my opinions match up with the wagers that are offered, what's on the menu, where the favorites may be, and where we might be able to strike and get a nice price. I'm trying to find some prices in races where other people aren't. I mean, that's the bottom line of what you're trying to do is zig when they zag. And I think in race number 1, one of my key plays, there's a possibility of an upset in there in a profile, bottom level claimers going long where favorites don't win that often. We've got a shot to maybe get a price in race number 1 because races 2, 3, and 4 kind of line up as a 2-year-old race, as a claiming sprint, as a turf sprint. And Wesley Ward, one of the top trainers here at Keeneland, obviously, every spring meet, he's particularly good with the older horses this particular season. He's got a chance maybe to run the table in races 2, 3, and 4 at shorter prices. If you're going to hit early in the day at Keeneland on Thursday, it might be in race number 1. So that's why we want to focus on that. Race 5 is a horse that I like, 10-1 in the morning line. We've got a nice price play there. It happens to be in one of the swing races that are part of 3 sequences that I'm interested in, that being the kickoff leg to the late pick 5, race number 5, the anchor leg to the early pick 5, and also the anchor leg to the early pick 4, which, as you see, starts in race number 2. So we can hit this horse in 3 different directions, and if we decide to play this pick 6 and with this carryover, it could be a horse that we're using in 4 different sequences. So a nice price and a horse who's got multiple options where we can use them. That's what we want to see. In race number 7, I've got a horse on a little bit of a hidden class drop, if you will, and I think it's going to be significant, listed at 6-1 in the morning line. So my main plays are 1, 5, and 7. They're not part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 as my main bets on this particular program. So I love the Keeneland Turf Pick 3 with the $3 minimum, the low takeout. But my key bets on this day aren't part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. So, maybe we get involved a little bit, but it's not going to be a day where I dive hard into the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. That might send me into the Pick 6, though, with the $41,000 carryover and some options to talk about in that respect. And again, as we talk about that carryover and why carryovers are important, is that's money in the pool for the Pick 6 that will be paid out when somebody hits, but it's not part of the possible winning combination. So the number of you who take down the pick 6 on a carryover day like this will get paid more than they normally would on a day when there's no carryover. So that's the key for a carryover, is it's free money for the bettors who are jumping in the pool today. I mean, if you lost in the pick 6 on Wednesday earlier today, then you won't call it free money. You're trying to chase some of your old money. But if you weren't involved in the pool and you jump in now with the carryover on Thursday, you're playing for more money than will actually be in the pot. It's like you anteed up in a poker game, and then when it was over, you drug all the chips back to your wallet. But you have to have an opinion, and even at $1, a pick 6 can get expensive because you're multiplying out over 6 races. So narrow your decisions. Let's see if we can't come up with a couple singles for you on the card to make that pick 6 a little bit more palatable from a wagering standpoint. We're going to get the ticker off the screen here at the bottom in just a second, and then I'll get involved with the Handicapper's consensus from Keeneland for the Thursday card. You'll see where my selections are, and also the other public handicappers at Keeneland: Scott Hazelton, Tom Leach, and myself, Gabby Gaudette, Kim Nilsson. Here's how we line up the card on Thursday, and the pick 6 are going to be races 4 through 9. So you see, like in race number 4, Lyrical Poet right off the bat is a horse top choice by Scott, by Tom, by myself, second choice by Gabby, picked by Kim Nilsson. Lyrical Poet's the kind of horse who's going to start off as a pick 6 single for a lot of folks, and a horse who's going to be very popular on the tote board, and we can tell that when 4 of the 5 public handicappers all land on the same horse. Another potential single for a lot of folks in the pick 6, if you're going to follow the crowd. That's not the best way to do it. You want to be against the crowd when you can, but if you think these are kind of lead pipe cinch type runners, race number 6, Eyes on Target. You see the 2 horse in there, picked on top by Scott, myself, Gabby, and Kim, and picked third by Tom Leach in there. So that's another one. Races 4 and 6, we're seeing 4 out of 5 public handicappers all agreeing on the same runner in the pick 6. As you get through the rest of the sequence, there's not another race. I mean, 7, 8, 9, where you see more than two horses in any particular race picked by the same public handicappers. Race 7's got 5 different horses picked on top, 4 different horses picked on top in race number 8 as you look across the column. And in race number 9, that looks like another one where there are 4 different horses picked. So if you're playing the pick 6 and you're looking for singles based on what the public handicappers have done, races 4 and 6 are where probably the heaviest favorites will lie. For a smaller ticket player and somebody who's conservative, maybe you jump in with that and you use those more reliable singles and try to get through the sequence. If you're trying to take down a whopper, though, you want to try to beat those horses in races 4 and 6 that everybody else is focusing on. So depending on your approach, your long-term strategy, your short-term approach, how much money you put into the pick sixes, how serious of a player you are, you want to get outside the public as often as possible. So races 4 and 6 are ways where you may not single. You may single a horse in another race where they're your top pick. They may not be as heavily backed on the tote board as some of those horses in races 4 and 6. But let's say you get a 4-1 home as your single or a 5-1. That's going to be a lot more look to you when it comes time to get paid than it will be to single one of those horses in races 4 and 6 where everybody else is joining on the single train. So as we get back to the big board and the big picture, tell you about, again, one of my top plays early in the card that I think you have to make a little bingo with is in race number 1, because I think races 2, 3, and 4 could get a little bit chalky. And race number 1 is a $10,000 bottom level, basement level claimer, as I call them, going 1 mile and a 16th. We don't get a lot of these route races at the basement level in the spring. Keeneland doesn't have basement claimers to start with, but around 2 turns, we've only had 7 of these on the dirt since we went to the dirt surface in the spring of 2015. And favorites are 1 for 7 in these races. The average winner is 8-1. They haven't been very reliable. Cheaper races in sprint distances are pretty reliable statistically, and people think that they're not. But cheap races going long, sometimes you can get the unreliability factor. We've seen that a little bit. It's a small sample size, but do we really need to just dig in to love a favorite in a $10,000 claimer going 1 mile and a 16th? I think you can step out of the box a little bit and try to find yourself a price. There's a mutual entry in here, the 1 and the 1A. Eric Foster trains both halves. I'm going to take the 1A Till Then. This is a late runner. This horse is going to be coming from off the pace, no question about it. Till Then doesn't have much early speed, but Gerardo Corrales, the rider, he booted home 4 long shots, really nice prices during week number 2. He's having a great meet. He's like 5th in the jock standings behind all the big name riders. When you look at the top and you see Gaffleone and Irad and Rosario's riding well, of course, and you've got Flavian Pratt up there. He had another winner on the Wednesday card. Then Gerardo Corrales' name pops up there in the top 5, and you say, wait a minute, which one of these is not like the other? He's an outstanding rider. If you follow Turfway, obviously he wins a lot of races for Wesley Ward at Turfway and other traders, but he's having a very good Keeneland meet. Dare I say a breakout meet in terms of a national recognition type meet. Gerardo Corrales riding Till Then, a horse from off the pace who I think can be a factor in race number 1. Of course, you get both halves of the entry in there. The plain 1 Fuel Duel is Florent Giroux on a class drop. And I've seen this trainer here, Eric Foster, have some success with the basement level claimers, 10,000 claimers and less, going long. He's got 2 victories at that $10,000 level with the basement claimers. So Eric Foster has horses he brings over that can fit at Keeneland during this meet at the bottom. He's won 2 races here in recent years, and so I'm going to take a shot with his entry. Till Then, the 1A, my horse that I like in race number 1. Looking across the Keeneland selectors box, we've got the 1A as my top choice, and Gabby Gaudette's also got the 1A in there as her second choice. So a little bit of love. The other half of the entry, Dual Fuel, gets a call from Kim Nelson. Mississippi picked on top by some of the handicappers in here. Mississippi is a horse who's got some class for trainer Ron Moquette coming in from Oaklawn, but this is a horse who's got back class, but hasn't done anything lately, hasn't won in a long time with the drought. So we'll see if Mississippi can get over the top here. The Oaklawn horses have not had much success at this meet so far, and a lot of times, like I try to tell you in this Handicappers podcast each night, I throw around a lot of stats, and some of them make a lot of sense. Some of them you scratch your head and say they don't really connect any dots. Why are the Oaklawn horses struggling this meet when they haven't in past meets? Well, Oaklawn opened at the beginning of December last year, the December of 2021, and they've run a long consecutive meet for very high purse levels through their casino operation there. They ran an extra 2 months in the meet almost. The horses who come from Oaklawn have been running for a lot of money for a long time. They could be over the top by the time we get around to the end of their meet. They're still running for the rest of this month through Derby Day at Oaklawn Park. So some of the best horses have stayed at Oaklawn and running for the big purses there where they're already bedded down. Some of the others have come north to Keeneland and haven't had much success. But again, these horses aren't necessarily aimed for Keeneland anymore like they may have been in the past from Oaklawn because they were running for such big money down there for so long early in the meet. A lot of shippers didn't get there in November or in December and January. So it was a little bit easier at that meet to get geared up earlier in the meet at Oaklawn. And now you kind of get to April and you're at the end of your form cycle. And so maybe that's why some of the Oaklawn horses haven't had quite as much success. Race number 2 on the card is a 4.5 furlong dash here for the 2-year-olds. And Dominicana is an interesting one for Wesley Ward. I picked this one opening day when the horse was 2-5 and got beat in the first round of the season for the 2-year-olds. This is a $300,000 son of Uncle Mo. Expected to be something, but did show much at all. Dominicana could come back and win this race. Wesley Ward is only, 1 for 5 now? There's been 5 2-year-old races. He ran a good second on Wednesday, but somehow a Ward horse gave up a 2-length lead turning for home and got run down by Mike Maker in the 2-year-old race on Wednesday. You don't see Wesley's horses get beat the lead very often in these 2-year-old races. I mean, he were half of them to start with. He's not having that success this meet, and a lot of times there were horses that got beat the first 2 weeks. Now he had a horse who broke, got the lead, turned for home with a little clear daylight, and got ran down, very un-Wesley Ward-like. So Ward comes in here with Hippie Trail 4, who's by Hootenanny, a really nice 2-year-old winner at Keeneland on the synthetic, I believe, back in the synthetic era, and also one here at Keeneland on the turf as an outstanding turf sprinter. But there's a winner pedigree there, sired by Hootenanny. Hippie Trail, the 4, the filly, certainly I think is the stronger of the two. She gets Irad Ortiz. Dominicana is the other Wesley Ward in here, who's already run, like we mentioned, ran 6th, broke a little bit, and then just kind of got outrun. Here's the stat that you really want to consider with these 2-year-old races. I call them run backs, horses running back the second time at the meet. You'll see that in my blog a lot. This horse is a run back. We've had 69 run backs in these 2-year-old races over the years since we went back to dirt in 2015 in the spring. 3 winners. 3 out of 69 were horses running back second time at the meet. And this is not a move Wesley Ward even tries. This is the second run back that Wesley Ward has had with a 2-year-old. He had one at 1-5 odds that ended up running second in 2016. So the other time he tried it like he does with Dominicana here, he got beat at 1-5. It was a second place finish, but at 1-5, you're supposed to win. It's not a move he does often. I'm not sure what to make of Dominicana on the run back. But when run backs are only 3 for 69 in the baby races overall, you could assume that Wesley would do a lot better than 3 for 69 if he tried it that many times. But it doesn't seem like an A-list move. And so it's Hippie Trail for me, the other Wesley Ward in here, getting Irad Ortiz. Dominicana, you respect. The one Grand Oak is kind of interesting. Rusty Arnold sends this 2-year-old son of Spadestown, or 2-year-old daughter of Spadestown, for her career debut. Gets Tyler Gaffley on the ride, leading jock. And Rusty doesn't run 2-year-olds here in the spring. This is kind of out of character for him. But he has had a lot of success in week 3 of the Keeneland Spring Meet, saving horses for just after, it starts to lighten up a little bit. The depth isn't there. Some of the New York horses kind of run early in the meet, first and second week. Third and fourth week, it gets a little bluer in terms of shades in the blue bloods, a little bit lighter in the blue. Rusty Arnold does very well in week number 3 here. He's had 5 winners over the last 3 spring meets during week 3. Many of those at nice 4, 5, 6-1 kind of prices. I'm looking for Rusty to have a couple winners this week. It's an odd horse for him to run in there. So I think you might give a little consideration to Grand Oak if you don't like the Wesley Wards. But Wesley's got to start winning these at some point, you would have to think. In race number 2, he's got a double-fisted approach with Hippie Trail, Dominicana, but I'm going with Hippie Trail. Wesley Ward in the 3rd race, I think I feel a little bit stronger about stage left than I do as 2-year-olds, and that's kind of an odd statement to make when your confidence with Wesley Ward's not with his 2-year-olds, but with his elder sprinters. But his elder sprinters have been just lights out so far at the meet. And I've got the 3 stage left on top here. This is a filly, or I should say, this is a horse, a veteran horse who's, run well here at Keeneland, is a winner here over the track in the past, takes the class drop, comes off the layoff, and this is like the mid-level claiming sprints, 25,000 to 40,000. Wesley Ward has a really nice record here. He's got 5 wins in this kind of sprint division with the mid-level claimers, easily the most of any other trainer in spring meets. So he has horses for these kind of spots, dropping in class, coming off the layoff. You would think Stage Left has been earmarked for this spot for a while, and I think Stage Left under John Velasquez is going to be tough to beat in a race number 3. The other one to keep an eye on is Lafitte's Fleet. Tom Amis trains, and this one should be coming along late under Tyler Gaffleone. The Fairgrounds runners have done well here, of course, at this mid-level claiming area. So horses from the Fairgrounds tend to fit in that 25 to 40,000 kind of level that we're looking at. Lafitte's Fleet, the one, should be a late runner making a move, but I think Stage Left gets the jump obviously early and is able to hold that one off over 7 furlongs. But 3 and 1, 2 in there for me. The 6 horse Not Away is a horse for Lacey Gaudet and her mom, bringing this one in from Maryland. Irad Ortiz will ride. They haven't had too much success with 1 or 2 starters so far at the meet, but Not Away looks like a horse who should fit for the $25,000 claiming level on the class drop. Well placed by the connections there. But Not Away's speed, and Stage Left is speed. So if Not Away is going to win this race, Irad Ortiz and Not Away are going to have to outrun Stage Left to do it. That's why you might not look at a complete single with Stage Left and you want to take a closer. If you're going to go too deep in multi-race wagers, I like to have differing running styles. If the speed's going to play out, then you get the best speed horse. But to take 2 speed horses and hope one holds on, I don't like that approach. I think you just single if you've got 2 speed horses and figure out which one is best. If you're going to think 2 speed horses could cancel each other out, then take the best one along with the best closer, because hey, if it sets up because one knocks each other out, then either one could be in that situation, and it's the closer who comes along and picks up the pieces. So if you're going to go too deep in a race, and that's kind of how I look at race number 3 for multi-race purposes, I like to have a speed horse and a closer when I go too deep. Then I've got all pace scenarios covered. If I have the right speed or the right closer, the race shape really doesn't matter to me so much. So it's Stage Left to 3 and the 1 Lafitte's Fleet in today's 3rd race. And again, 4th race coming up, we'll have that carryover for the Pick 6, $41,273 in the Pick 6 carryover. A reminder, it's a $1 wager at Keeneland, no jackpot provision. So you don't have to be a single ticket holder to take down the Pick 6. And it'll begin here in race number 4. It's also the start of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. And as we look at the big picture for Thursday's card, the Turf Pick 3 races are going to be races 4, 6, and 8. You've got a turf sprint here. You got a turf sprint later, and in between, I believe you got a turf marathon. So a little bit short and a little bit long in terms of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Now, Wesley Ward, we said at the beginning, right? The reason we want to take a price in the opener is because Wesley's got 2 horses that look good in the 2-year-old race as potential winners. He's got Stage Left in the 3rd race that looks very good as a potential winner. And here in the 4th race, it's a turf sprint allowance race. Here's the deal, folks. We've run 6 turf sprints at the meet at Keeneland. Wesley Ward's won 5 of them. 5. So he's 5 for 6 in the turf sprint races. He's absolutely owned them. He's teamed with Irad Ortiz to win 3 of those. And as you look through the past performances, you've got Lyrical Poet in this race, Wesley Ward, Irad Ortiz, coming off the layoff. Every one of the turf sprint winners so far this week were horses making their first start of the year. Do not be afraid of the layoff. So all signposts indicate, and this is what we talked about with race number 4, that Lyrical Poet is a standout in this race. 4 of the 5 public handicappers, myself included, took the horse on top. Gabby Gaudet's got the horse picked 2nd. Lyrical Poet should be absolutely tough to beat in here in a 9-horse field. The other thing about turf sprints is a lot of times you think turf sprints are chaotic races, and they can be, with 12, 13, 14 horses. Trip becomes so important. But turf sprints where there's not a big field, this one has 9 before scratches. May the best horse win. They should get a good trip. You're not worried about the distance at 5.5. Less traffic to worry about. Lyrical Poet is pure speed. This horse goes to the front. There'll be fewer horses probably challenging on the front end because of a 9-horse field versus 12, 13, or 14. It all really does look like it should be Lyrical Poet wire to wire. The question is there anyone else in the pace dynamic that go with Lyrical Poet and maybe set it up for a closer? I thought the 3 Chief Halcomb and the 4 Apache Tears were the 2 other horses with some speed in here who could contest early. But the 4 Apache Tears is a horse who goes blinkers off now. So trainer Andrew McKeever takes the blinkers off. When that happens, horses tend not to break quite as sharp and into the race early. So Apache Tears might not show the same kind of speed. It's really probably up to Chief Halcom, who made the lead and ran fourth, beating a length in a race here last October, to try to compete with Lyrical Poet on the front end. Those look to me like the two principal speed players, and you're used to seeing a little bit more early speed in these turf sprints. But again, when you have 9 versus 12, 13, 14 in the huge fields that you see at some tracks, a 9-horse turf sprint's just not going to have quite as many horses to challenge from the front. Now, if you're going to beat Lyrical Poet, again, you've got to look at a diverse style, right? You're not going to outrun this horse on the front end. So you're not looking for a wire-to-wire upsetter. If you're going to beat Lyrical Poet, I went with the 9 Super Design as the second best option in here, because this is a horse who is trained by Wesley Ward, but he's going to be the other Ward. And so while everybody leans on Lyrical Poet and Irad and Wesley with the speed, it could be the outside runner Super Design under Joel Rosario. Rosario's about a 36, 37% turf sprint rider at Keeneland, has excellent numbers. He's the best turf sprint rider on the grounds. And when he teams up with Wesley Ward, they hit 30 here at Keeneland. So great connections. I think Ward wins this race one way or the other. It's Lyrical Poet on the front or Super Design as the horse coming, from off the pace. But I think this is a situation where you do not single. I think Super Design, if able to upset this race and beat Lyrical Poet, could be the kind of horse who pays a lot more in terms of the pick 6 than in the win pool. This horse might only be, let's say, 3-1 or 7-2 in the win pool, but with everybody trying to find their singles and hone in on a particular horse or two in the pick 6, Lyrical Poet's going to get bet a lot harder, I think, than Super Design will in pick 6 tickets. And so if you beat that horse, you're eliminating a lot of folks. So I would use Lyrical Post and Super Design. I think they're both the two most likely winners. But this is a situation with early and late, and Wesley Ward winning 5 of the 6 turf sprints. Joel Rosario, great rider. Obviously, Irad Ortiz and Wesley have teamed up to win 3 already at the meet in turf sprints. If you've got the 5 and the 7 and the 9 in race number 4, you should have all the bases covered. Let's go to the 5th race on the card as we try to pick up the pace here a little bit. 5th race is on the big picture, a swing race for us, and one of our key plays of the day, 10-1 in the morning line. It's number 1, Waywardness. This horse is one of my key plays. Speed from the rail and pedigree to like it here at Keeneland. This is a Turfway Park maiden breaker last time out. There's not much speed in this race, in race number 5, and the 1 horse Waywardness is by Into Mischief, the leading dirt sire at Keeneland since we had the surface switch back here fall of 2014 into spring of 2015. Nobody sired more winners on the dirt than Into Mischief. I think you got speed, rail, you got Joe Talamo, who's a front-running jock in a race without much speed. The Turfway Park horses have done exceptionally well here in non-winners of 2 lifetime claimers, which is what we have. 10 of 21 non-winners of 2 claimers since 2019 spring have been won by horses from Turfway, including 3 of the first 4 this meet. So I'm looking for the Turfway horses and non-winners of 2 lifetime claimers. I like speed in mile and 16th cheap races like this. Waywardness fits the bill. 10-1 in the morning line. And you get an older horse in here. You get a 4-year-old taking on a lot of 3-year-olds. So a little bit of an advantage there as well. So for me, it's Waywardness is one of my key plays. Race number 5, 10-1. If we can get this one, we can lock down. Maybe we can stomach a Wesley Ward or 2 horse in races 2, 3, and 4. Maybe Wesley wins 2 of those 3. Maybe he takes all 3. But with that 10-1 in race number 5, we can do some damage to round out the early pick 5. Now, in the early pick 5, I think you're looking at a very focused ticket. A couple options in race number 1 you can go. I think you can go 2 deep, single, stage left perhaps, or Lafitte's Feet, and go 2. So you might go 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, and then get down to the single at 10-1 in race number 5. Not that the horse in race number 5 is like this standout that has to win as a single, but I don't want to waste a bunch of other combinations when I'm building around my horse like that. So I've got a nice 10-1. If I go 2 by 2 in the first 4 legs of it, we're looking at what? 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. There's only 16 combinations in the pick 5 getting to that horse in race number 5. So at 50 cents, I'm only looking at an $8 play. So instead of betting $8 to win on the 10-1 shot in race number 5, if these races look like they kind of line up fairly formful at the beginning, I can go 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 and then single in race number 5. And I could be looking at a nice pick 5 ticket that pays much more than having $8 to win on the 10-1 shot. So that's how we're going to strategize and try to make some money in race number 5. Let's go to the 6th race and take a look how the public handicappers have this one lined up. It's Eyes on Target. Looks to be a pretty solid favorite here. This is one of those horses who really fits what we're looking for in these starter allowance turf races. Mike Maker won the starter allowance turf race on the Wednesday card. He's got Eyes on Target with Irad Ortiz. They should team up here and be very tough to beat. This horse fits perfectly with the conditions of the race, the what we're looking for coming up from Gulfstream Park. It's Maker and Irad, well drawn in the 2-hole. I think this is one where you don't try to resist, and you have a 12-horse field. So taking a favorite in a 12-horse field, can still be beneficial for you because that's why they created the exotics. You might get a little bit more on the win end. Maybe this horse goes off 9-5, 2-1. We're in a smaller field. You might be even money. So Eyes on Target, I think, is the clear play in here. You're looking to build out tries and supers, I think, and use this horse in multi-race wagers. 6th race on the card as we go back to the big picture. Starts the pick 4, the late pick 4. It's also part of the Keeneland Turf pick 3. So again, the Turf pick 3 started in race number 4. You got 2 Wesley Wards in there. I think you've got to stand out here in race number 6 with the 2 Eyes on Target on the win end. So as you look at that Keeneland Turf pick 3, you could be 2/3 of the way home and not see a horse who pays, double digits. I think you're probably looking at single-digit winners in both of those races. Horses paying, less than $10 on the win end for sure. You got the 2 Wards. Maybe you upset in race number 4 with the other Ward and get $8 or $9. But in terms of the Keeneland Turf pick 3, I think Eyes on Target in race number 6 is a very solid winner here and a horse to lean on. 2 horse with a good post draw, again, the connections. And Mike Maker has won 3 of these turf starter allowances from 9 offered. He's, these are the kind of horses that he runs well with, placing him in these kind of spots. So I think it's Eyes on Target. If you're looking for the exotics to go a little bit deeper, George Weaver's got Our Country, the 10 with Tyler Gaffleone. You might want to use in there. The 4 Fieldstone is one who might be a nice price. And if you're looking at the exotics, keep an eye on number 4 Fieldstone in race number 6. Joe Sharp has done really well in week number 3 of the Keeneland Spring Meets in the last 3 years. We told you about Rusty Arnold having some success. Joe Sharp as well, and with some nice prices on Joe Sharp's end. So Fieldstone, the 4, is the kind of horse that, that maybe could have run a little bit earlier in the meet. I think this is our 3rd starter allowance on the turf, saving him for a little bit later into the meet. Instead of running in an allowance race, let's wait for the starter. Fieldstone, the 4, could be the price to get in underneath in race number 6, but the 2 is the clear play in there, Eyes on Target, and for me, a single in the pick 6. To the 7th race we go next up, and on the 7th race public handicappers docket, we've got a situation where 5 different horses are picked on top. This tells you if you're playing the pick 6, this is a spread race. This is one where the public handicappers are torn. The 9, the 1, the 5, the 2, the 7, all getting a top choice in here. I did like the 5 Mine for Passion, but I got to tell you, this is like one of those where I'm a stats and trends guy. I write about them a lot. I dig them up, but I like the 5 in here. May not necessarily be a horse who fits every one of the trends as you're going down through the line, but I really like what I think is a hidden class drop in here. Race number 7 is my big hidden class drop for a 6-1 morning line pick. It's the 5 Mine for Passion. If you look at the past performances, this horse last time out ran against older horses. This is a 3-year-old and up race, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds. Last time out faced the boys and elders. And now when you come back and you look at this race, there are 9 horses entered in race number 7. The 1, the 2, and the outside pair, the 8 and the 9. 4 of the 8 rivals in this race are 3-year-olds. So 3-year-old fillies. So if you're looking at the 5 Mine for Passion, last time out took on males and older males. And now half of the rivals that this filly's going to race against now are 3-year-old fillies. That's like a double class drop, if not more, when you're kind of looking at the pool of eligible horses and how strong those races could have been. So Mine for Passion's last race was a strong one at Gulfstream Park, and this horse is really fast, capable of hitting 44 and change in sprint races. I think James Graham puts the 5 Mine for Passion on the lead. I like speed in these mile and a 16th maiden races. I think you want to be up close to the pace here. 8 of the 11 winners that we've seen at this class and distance and spring meets have been horses who were within a length and a half of the lead. You don't want to be too far out of it. So a 2-turn prep is good. So Mine for Passion fits on a lot of scales. And I think in this race, Mine for Passion is just going to take them wire to wire on what we're calling a hidden but significant class drop for the 6-1 morning line horse. Again, it's mostly 3-year-old fillies today. It was older males last time, even though you're still running back in a maiden special weight race. That race at Gulfstream compared to what she'll face today on Thursday at Keeneland, I think is a big, significant difference. Eighth race on the card is the feature race, 1.5 miles on the turf. We've had 26 of these spring marathon turf races in Allowance Company, going back to the beginning of our database, and 7-2 is the average winner. The longest price has only been one horse in double digits, so they have been fairly formful. I mean, you're not looking for a big bopping price here going 1.5 miles on the turf at Keeneland. These have been very formful type of races, and ones I think you want to lean on the horses who are expected to run their race. Number 3, Disappearing Act, was my top choice in here. Richie Baltus trains. This horse comes off a second-place finish in Stakes Company at Santa Anita, has the long layoff. I think for these races, the long layoffs are not a concern so much. At 1.5 miles it can be, and maybe you're not laying on this horse as a single, and I don't think there's a single type horse in this race, but Disappearing Act should be ready to go. Pratt rides, and this is one who was training down at San Luis Rey Downs near Del Mar, so I haven't seen any of the works at XBTV that I'd like to see from a California horse, but did get a work at Churchill since coming east. And Disappearing Act, Lord Flavian Pratt, he had another win on the Wednesday card and riding so well. The thing I really like about Disappearing Act is this is a grandson of Galileo, and I think by Magician, the son of Galileo. I like Galileo. I like Dynaformer when I'm looking at pedigrees for 1.5 miles on the turf at Keeneland or anywhere for that matter. Just such good route influences. So I'm on the 3, Disappearing Act. I think the 6, Go Big Blue Nation, has to be considered. Graham Motion trains. He's having a fantastic meet here at Keeneland. And nobody's won more 1.5 mile races on the turf here at Keeneland than Graham Motion's 13. He's tied with Mike Maker for the most. Nobody's won more. So Go Big Blue Nation, the 6. It's Tyler Gaffleone. It's Graham Motion. Motion having such a great meet. I think if you take the 6 and the 3, you feel fairly comfortable about your chances. The 4, Flanagan's Cove, is one certainly off of 2 straight wins last year by Kitten's Joy. Shug McGahee trains. You've got to respect the connections and Joel Rosario with his finishing ability. You could see Flanagan's Cove getting the last laugh and the last move in this race. Disappearing Act, though, the one I like. Go Big Blue Nation, Flanagan's Cove. I think if you have those 3, you're okay. I'm not wild about Gladys, the younger sister to Rachel Alexandra, this 4-year-old filly. She's got the turf form. Rachel Alexandra, we talked about how she was a dirt horse, obviously. But this horse has won on the turf down at Tampa Bay Downs. But when stepping up into Hillsborough last time, gave it up late. And that was, I think, a little bit lesser grade 2 Hillsborough than we've seen. Some years Mark Cassie's had some real stud fillies to come in there, some real stylish, strong fillies to go in there and help get races like that, and Chad Brown getting races like that with the big grade. I don't think it was quite as strong a field this year as some in the past, and I think her allowance form's probably about where she maxes out Gladys. I think she'll be underlaid in here. I think people will bet her because she's Rachel's younger sister. I'll take my chances against her. I think you go 3, 6, and maybe 4. Go 3 deep in the $1 pick 6. Ninth and final, we'll wrap up the program. Let's see who the public handicappers have for the finale. We've got Watermark on top, as does Gabby Gaudette. So 2 of us on the same runner in here. 2, 4, 7 for me in the nightcap. 2 and 4, fairly popular across the way. Queen Cordelia, also the top pick for Tom Leach. So 2 and 4 in the nightcap. Watermark the Deuce is a horse who goes for a Ben Colbrook barn that's done really nice with these 6 furlong maiden claimers. We're 6 furlong maiden claimers at the in the finale. You want a horse with front running speed. The average winner in these races just 3/4 of a length off the lead. So this is one of the speedier profiles you'll see at Keeneland. 6 furlong maiden claimers. And Watermark's got early speed from the 2 holes. Should be going right off the bat. Gerardo Corrales, the rider, we told you he had a big week last week and is riding great at this meet. And we've seen this barn, Ben Colbrook, win 6 furlong maiden claiming races here in the spring meet in 2017, 2018, and 2021. He's got 3 of them. That's tied for the most by any trainer. So he drops this one in class off a maiden special last time. protected to maybe keep the condition for Keeneland in case if they won, they'd have been happy at Turfway, but if not, they're at least protected to run here at Keeneland for $36,000 on a 20 claimer. So I think Watermark is well met by a trainer who does well in these spots. He's the top pick. The 4 Queen Cordelia comes in from Fairgrounds. This is a $270,000 American Pharoah who's dropping in class and may find friendlier company here than in some of the past. So Queen Cordelia, the other to consider in the nightcap. But I just look at this as a race where it's the 2 and the 4. Super Surge the 7 was my third pick, but if I'm playing pick 6s, I think that's the horse who nibbles near the bottom and not one that I'm going to be playing on top. I think you get through the finale with the 2 and the 4, and that's as deep as you need to go to wrap up the action on Thursday. That will complete our podcast for the Keeneland Look Ahead for Thursday's program. Again, $41,000 pick 6 carryover at Keeneland, beginning in race number 4, races 4 through 9. Be sure to check in with Gabby Gaudette and Scott Hazelton as they'll have the Today at Keeneland program starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Thursday to set you up for the card with all the latest scratches and changes. Forecast looks great, though. We should have a great day of racing. Not expected to have any precipitation, so should be a fantastic day. Take down that pick 6, and we'll come talk to you tomorrow night. Have a good one, everybody.